I think by the end.
Yeah, because we really,
And we're reporting.
Okay.
so that's Commissioner Hill.
I'm present, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. We are going to open up, the Housing Authority County of Monterey, the board meeting for Tuesday, May 27th. And the time is 5:03.
Yes.
So 5:03. So we're gonna go ahead and stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and move to, roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am. Vice Chair Kathleen Bellastros,
Present.
Commissioner Kevin Healy.
Present,
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
Present.
Commissioner Maria Orozco.
Present.
Commissioner Yuri Anderson.
Here.
Okay, that concludes the roll call.
Okay. So we're gonna go to agenda item 3, comments from the public. Any person that wishing to address the public, you're allowed 3 minutes. And just to let you know, any person addressing a public comment, there will be no response from either the board commissioners or the executive director. This is so you could voice your concern or anything that you want to say in public comment. So is anybody there, Gabriela?
Does anyone have a public comment? There's a few people joining. Does anyone joining have a public comment? Hearing none. Anyone in person? Seeing none.
Okay, in order to accommodate, we do have a presenter that's on the East Coast. So we're gonna begin with the presentation by legal counsel, Fox Rothschild LLP. So if everybody's okay with that, with the Board of
Yes.
Commissioners, okay, all right.
So the presentation I have really is to deal with what we just had, which was the public comment section of your board meetings. And board meetings are generally run not only under California law, but also through the Roberts Rules of Order. The whole purpose is to make sure that meetings are run orderly. And one thing you have to remember is that this is a meeting of the Board of Commissioners, and the public is invited to witness the meeting. They are not permitted to participate in the meeting, and there's a significant difference there. So at the beginning of the meeting, you can invite non-members of the board to express views, but it's done under the control of the presiding officer, which is the board chair. And time limits are set. In this case, the board is limited to 3 minutes. The board is not to engage in a dialogue at this time. This is for members of the public to express things that they believe the board needs to hear. But that's all. Just input. In the event that there's a discussion, you run the very real risk that you are now setting policy accidentally. And later in the meeting, when you have a motion, it should be a motion, it should be seconded, and then there is discussion among the board. The public should never be invited to participate in a discussion on any motion, and then the board votes. Because again, this is a public meeting, but it is still the board's meeting with the public permitted to watch. So a number of the best practices to manage this is establish periods for public comment. It can be at the beginning or the end. You can make clear that there is to be no disruptive behavior, no booing, no hissing, no clapping, nothing of the sort. You can require speakers to keep to a time limit. And you have to be very careful. So for example, one of the boards that I know of had union representatives come to board meetings, not only wanted to participate in public comment, but they wanted to have a dialogue leading up to a negotiation. That is inappropriate for the board to do. It's actually inappropriate for a union rep to do. That's all supposed to be done through collective bargaining. And if they want to follow up, they should follow up with the executive director or staff, because at the end of the day, the board only has one employee, the executive director, and issues with the public are to come to the executive director to be handled by the ED and her staff. That's really the entire presentation. It's short, it's sweet, just like a board meeting should be. But I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Do any of the commissioners have a question for Kevin, the legal counsel? No? From you? No. Commissioner Healy or Commissioner Goodwin, do you have any questions? I hear none, I guess not. Thank you.
Then I will turn off the clock and let you go back to your meeting. So thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are going to go to presentation number 4. Agenda item number 4. We are gonna go with presentation by Novogradac, audit overview and findings.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Rich Larson. I'm a partner with Novogradac and Company, and I'm the Housing Authority Auditor. Also on the call is John Atkins. He's also a partner with Novogradac, and he audits all the component units or the affiliate entities of the Housing Authority. So I will go first, talk about the Housing Authority, and then John will jump in when I'm finished, or if there's any after questions, and he'll talk a little bit about the affiliate entities. So if I may, I'd like to share my screen real quick. That might be easiest, and then the board can maybe follow along. So hopefully my independent auditors report's on the screen. So what I did is I highlighted just a few things that I'll talk about in the report. So what's on your screen now is our report of independent auditors. And this is where we give an opinion on the authority's financial statements. And the good news here is we give what's called an unmodified opinion on your financial statements. Yes?
Hold on, Rich, I need to give you access to share your screen. It's not coming up.
Oh, it's not coming up? It didn't come up? Right, wait a minute. It popped up on mine. Let's see if I can. Is it up now? No?
No,
It was.
Oh, it was up?
I could see it.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me, I'll do that one more time then. Is it up?
Yes.
Oh,
No.
okay.
No, hold on a second. I need to give you access. One moment.
You can make me the host, and then. Yeah, if you click on participants, you'll see my name. I think you might be able to right click and make me a co-host in the meeting.
Is it John or?
He at the top, yeah, it's Rich. There you go.
Oh, there you go. I think you did it. Okay. Let's see then. I will, okay, so now I should be able to share my screen then pretty easily. Is it up there?
Yeah.
Now it is.
Okay. Okay, so I'll jump back into it and I will try to be brief. So there's 3 reports in your package that our firm signed, 3 different audit reports. The first one that's on your screen, and I highlighted some of the important things, is page 1 is if you're following along on the hard copies, is our report of independent auditors. And this is where we give an opinion on your financial statements. Do they or do they not present fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles? And the second paragraph is where we give what's called an unmodified opinion on your financials. Unmodified opinion, although it doesn't sound very good, it's the highest level of assurance that we give as auditors. And basically, with an unmodified opinion, we're saying there's no modifications that need to be made to your financials for them to present fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So that is a fantastic outcome. It's probably one you expected, but nonetheless, it is good to hear. There's a couple of other things in the audit report that we don't give an opinion on. Well, one thing in this case, there's something called a management's discussion and analysis report, and that's just a report that management provides, just an analysis on the operations and the happenings during the year of the authority. And so it's standard. We don't give an opinion on that. It's just supplemental information, but that is in the audit package. And then there's also, in addition to the financial statements in the MD&A, there's a schedule of federal awards and a financial data schedule that's required by HUD. And we do include that as part of our opinion. And we did also give that an unmodified opinion and we do say that that presents fairly in all material respects. So that is a good outcome. Now, the reason why we have to do the second 2 audit reports in the package is because of the level of your federal awards. So the authority expended almost $79 million of federal money, of which 77 million of it is the Housing Choice Voucher cluster of programs. So that's considered your major federal program. And we have to give an opinion on compliance, and we have to look at your internal controls because that's federal law because of the level of expenditures of federal awards that you incur. So the authority incurred almost $79 million of federal money. So with that said, the second audit report in the package is our audit in accordance with government auditing standards. So there's 2 parts to this report. The first part is where we as your auditors document and test your internal control over financial reporting. And anytime I talk about internal control, I'm really talking about what are the processes that the authority has in place to safeguard authority assets. So we look at how you process cash receipts, how you process cash disbursements, payroll. So we'll test payroll transactions and make sure employees are getting paid their board-approved salary. Procurement, we'll make sure the authority is properly procuring goods and services. Also, the board is a huge part of internal control. So we will review the minutes to your meetings. And if the board passes a resolution to hire a certain contractor at a certain rate, we're actually going to make sure that the staff follows through with that resolution because the board sets policy and staff is required to follow that policy. And that's good internal control. So we're looking for weaknesses in that system where they may not have followed, staff may not have followed internal controls. And the good news is here is at the bottom of page 51, we say we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control that we consider to be a material weakness. And that's the highest level of assurance that we can give as an auditor with this type of report. Now, the second part of this report is where we look at the authority's compliance with laws and regulations and so forth. Now, we do have some compliance issues with the voucher program that we do want to talk about that I'm going to get into in this next report. So the last report is our audit in accordance with the Uniform Guidance, which is federal law. And this is where we give an opinion. Did you or did you not comply with all the strings attached to the federal programs and the expenditures that you receive? So, the Housing Choice Voucher Program has dozens and dozens of compliance requirements that you're required to comply with in order to be eligible for those funds. And so we tested dozens of compliance requirements. And here's where I think the authority did fall short in the voucher program. And we have talked about this with management, and I'm confident that going forward, a lot of changes will be made, or I think they have already been made in the voucher program. So we gave the voucher program a qualified opinion on their housing choice voucher program. Qualified opinion is basically, we had some exceptions. So we say, in our opinion, except for the non-compliance that we describe, and we'll get to that, the authority did comply in all material respects with the compliance requirements of the housing choice voucher program. So there were some issues that, if you want, we can briefly look at them. I don't know, or there was about I think five issues with the voucher program. We could just talk about them in context, or you can read them on your own. Is there a consensus there?
Ask him to just briefly go through them.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing was really just an issue of compliance with unclaimed property debt. So we had a lot of old checks, not a tremendous amount, about $47,000 of outstanding housing choice voucher checks. And most of them are $10 or $50 or $100 utility allowance checks. Well, the state law says after a certain amount of time, you have to turn those over to the state. And I think the authority has already complied with that this year and has started to go through that process of returning unclaimed property to the state. Finding number two, we sampled 58 tenant files, 58 voucher program tenant files. Now you have 3,785 units, but we sampled 58 tenant files, and we found that 7 files were missing entirely. 1 application was missing in a file, original application. There was Section 214 forms were missing, the HUD 9887. So there was a lot of forms that were missing in the sample of 58. So we're required to report that to the board and report this to HUD, that these forms were not in the files. The third one had to do with failed inspections. So we selected 27 failed inspections for testing, and then we looked to review to see if they passed reinspection within 30 days. And 4 of those 27 files, we could not determine that. And so if a unit doesn't pass within 30 days and there's not a reason in the file, the authority is supposed to abate the HAP payment and not pay the landlord the HAP payment until the failed inspection is cured. So 4 out of 27 we had an issue with. The fourth one had to do with HQS inspections. So of a sample of 58 units, 16 units did not have the required HQS inspection performed. And the fifth, was there a question or no? No. And the fifth of a sample of another 58 tenant files, 3 tenants did not have annual recertifications. So of the 58 we pulled, 3 did not have annual recertifications, including income that was miscalculated in those 3 tenant files. And the last one, so what we did, we wanted to test to make sure new move-ins were admitted to the program in the proper order. So there's a wait list for the program, and when you admit new tenants to the program or new program participants to the program, we need to make sure that those participants were selected according to your admin plan, according to the preferences that the board sets. So 42 names were selected from the new move-in list, and we looked to trace those to the wait list to verify that they were chosen in the order that they were supposed to be. And 38 out of 42 new move-ins could not be traced with any certainty. So those are the 6 compliance issues. Actually, I'm sorry, there's 7. I apologize for that. Of 821 newly leased units, 42 newly leased units, 1 unit's documentation of reasonable rent was not available. So the reasonable rent calculation was not available for examination. We looked at 42, and 1 was not in the package. So those were the compliance findings. So the good news is we're going to get into the financials of the authority. The financials of the authority are going to reflect a very strong financial statements. The bad news is the compliance issues potentially could derail your strong financial position, because what happens is if HUD does the tests that we do, they could determine that HAP payments that you received and expended to landlords, if you don't have the proper documentation supporting those expenditures, they could declare them unallowable. Even if the person's legitimate and you've been paying this person for years and you're sure they should, or the landlord should be receiving the HAP payment, if you don't have the support in the tenant files, if you didn't do the reasonable rent calculation, if you don't have a verification of income file in the form, if you can't show that the tenant moved in on the right waiting list, HUD could declare those payments unallowable. And that could add up to millions and millions of dollars. So the good news is the authority, from our discussions with management, has already put a corrective action plan in place. I think they're working on it pretty hard. I do anticipate these issues will be resolved, but I'm sure we could talk about that a little bit more with staff. Talking about the financials real quick with the authority. When I talk to authority boards, we audit about 85 housing authorities across the country. Housing authorities have millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars of assets usually. But a lot of times those assets are tied up in sticks and bricks and buildings and notes receivable, illiquid assets. And so really how you measure the strength of a housing authority is your ability to pay bills as they become due, because you can't refinance your buildings to make payroll. And so how you measure liquidity and how you look at measure a housing authority's strength is you look at their current assets, and the authority has about $20.4 million of current assets, of which 13.5 million is sitting in cash, which is very, very strong. And you only have $3.3 million of current liabilities. So if you do the math, and I apologize for talking like an accountant, 20 million of current assets less $3.3 million of current liabilities, you have about $17 million of what's called working capital. And that represents 16 months worth of operating expenses. And I'm talking about this primary government column is the housing authority. The discretely presented component unit columns, those are the affiliate entities. And John's going to talk a little bit more about those. So $17 million of working capital, 16 months of operating reserves, incredibly strong financial statements. It is a very, very positive thing. HUD says if you have between 2 and 4 months worth of operating reserves or working capital, that is about average for a housing authority this size. If you have 4 to 6 months, that's very good. Monterey has 16 months of operating reserves, indicates you've been operating within your budgets, indicates, and that's not something that happens overnight. That's several years of good management, building up reserves. Very, very positive outcome there. So the housing authority had $84 million, or I'm sorry, $86 million of operating revenues, offset against $85 million of operating expenses. And you're showing an operating profit of in excess of $762,000, which is a very, very strong number, because that's after depreciation expense. It cost you, so I highlighted just some items in gold because I like to point out to board members, what does it really cost to operate your housing authority, to turn the lights on, unlock the doors, be open for business? Well, it cost the housing authority about $12.6 million, which is all these items in gold, is what we call the overhead. Housing assistance payments are a pass-through. They're not overhead. Depreciation is a non-cash item. So they're not really overhead items. It's these items I highlighted in gold. So it's about 12.6 million annually, or a little over $1 million per month to operate the housing authority. So as I mentioned, I think your financials are very, very strong. You generated $2.8 million in cash from operations, and your cash position increased $2.5 million. So long and short of it is, well, long, and maybe you might think it's very long, very strong financials. However, the compliance area really needs some work. Needs to be tightened up a little bit in the voucher program. With that, I'll turn it back to the board with any questions. I apologize if I took up too much time, but I just wanted to be as detailed as possible with my time.
I have a few questions for Rich.
Sure.
Rich, Novogradac works with other housing authorities. Would that be a correct assumption on my part?
Yes, I audit probably around 80 or 85 housing authorities across the country. But we also work with probably dozens and dozens more through tax credits. But for authority audits, probably about 80 or so.
Wonderful. And thank you very much for your thorough presentation. My questions are really in the compliance realm from some of the things that you mentioned, and it's really trying to understand I'll call it severity, for lack of a better word, of some of your findings relative to your experiences with some of the other 80 housing authorities that you work with. Is this what you reference relative to some of our shortfalls relative to compliance? Is that a commonplace element that you're seeing elsewhere, or could you just give a little context to that, please?
Sure. So this is, the voucher program is extremely cumbersome when it comes to compliance. It is probably the most compliant-driven program that HUD offers. So we do have findings probably in 50 to 60% of the audits we do. This is a little more severe because of the number, and that we had to qualify an opinion. Because of the number of findings, we had to qualify our opinion and say, hey, except for these issues, so we couldn't give a clean opinion. So, it really is something that needs to be worked on. You do want to clean these or clean it up as quick as possible and cure these deficiencies, because, I don't determine the legality, but HUD comes in and they could review, and it could cost real money. As I mentioned, if they look at a sample, they extrapolate the sample across the population. So if you're looking, if they test for, and this is just a simple example, that's not what they do. We use the same sampling as they do as far as numbers go. But if they sample 2 or if they sample 4 and there's problems with 2, that's a 50% failure rate. They're going to extrapolate that over the population. So you could then have millions of dollars of funds that are owed back. So it could be severe. I don't want to make light of it because it could be severe.
Okay, well, thank you for that additional insight. And then my only other question was relative to the strength of the financials as it relates to operating expenses. So 16 months seems like a very, very healthy reserve. Can you just clarify the disposition of those funds? Are predominantly those funds that represent that additional capital, are those restricted funds for the program that couldn't be utilized, or are those more discretionary?
So you do have, with that, so I'm looking at entity-wide, and that is a great question that goes to the heart of really what you can do. So the good news about the authority is you have diversified your housing portfolio. So you're not in the public housing program, which is great. You do have business activities funds. You do have some non-federal money, which really you can use for any housing authority purpose. So I see you have probably about $5 million of cash in a business activities program. You have some receivables there. So that's unrestricted funds. But when you look at a voucher program, you have to, those federal programs, you have to follow program regulations. So with the voucher program, for the most part, you're going to use those funds within the voucher program for leasing up tenants and and doing things to benefit that specific program. So you really have to look at a program by program basis. It's probably a little bit more of an involved calculation, but you do have non-federal funds, which is good.
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a great question.
Any other commissioners have a question? Yes, okay, go ahead, you're.
Thanks again for the presentation, Rich. And I'm not sure if my questions are for you or for Secretary Boykin. But again, along the compliance line, so this was the audit through June of 2024. So we're about to close out another year. If you could speak a little bit to,
What we know for the compliance.
what we know for the compliance, how we're anticipating, and then just, hearing that, these compliance issues could have financial impacts, just wondering, at what point does a 2024 audit spur HUD to do an examination of the agency, and is there potential for back payments or like that?
So my experience with HUD is that if findings remain open for several years, you're going to spur a review. The good news now is there is a lot going on in the federal government, and there's probably not as much external reviews going on than in the past. So, I want to get this resolved as quickly as possible. But yeah, generally my opinion is hey, if you get findings and it's a particular type of finding in 1 year and you had turnover and because we've put together a corrective action plan and we said, hey, we're going to fix this, and we submitted it to HUD. So as long as if you follow through your corrective action plan, you have a much better chance of not getting a HUD review than if findings are open for 3, 4, and 5 years. You're just inviting them in.
And just to add to that, these are severe findings, but what we have to remember as a board and as an agency is that this agency was about to be labeled troubled in 2022. And all of these audits have been done back to back. So if you go back to 2022 and 2021, you'll see these findings plus some more findings for the Section 8 program. Because since we had to do them back to back, by the time you had a finding, you didn't have time to fix it before we had to complete another audit because we was already behind. And also in 2023 and 2024, HUD came and they did an audit on EHV, they did an audit on VMS, they did an audit on the project-based vouchers, and they did an audit just on the Section 8 program. And so we've taken all of the responses that they've given us and the responses from the auditors and created these corrective action plans and are working very diligently with the HUD San Francisco office to correct them. So they know that we have these issues. We've been working on them, and it's as bad as it is, it's better. We just have not caught up with ourselves yet. You should see some improvement in the Section 8 program in the next audit, and then the 2026 is when you will really see what's going on for the program as a whole. Because again, we were behind on the audit, so as fast as we did one, we didn't really have time to put all the corrections in place. Now, another thing that is going on in the Section 8 department, we've had some transition and we had some issues in the Section 8 department. The board is fully aware of. However, I've really been taking a deep dive into that department and finding out what are the fundamental issues that are causing some of these problems. And with the board's approval for the Yardie, the Rent Cafe, and with some training and things of that nature, I feel like that we can resolve all of these issues. The hardest one to get around really is going to be the inspections, because we have some management and union relations that we'll have to do because of the old ones that are sitting in PIC. But other than that, we actively working on all of these, and we already started improving on most of them. Now, the one that really was concerning to me when I saw the report was the waiting list. Because you want to make sure that people are being moved in correctly and then nobody's skipping anybody. So after reviewing the audit and talking with the staff, it is an audit finding and it should be an audit finding, but there was no one that was skipped. It really was a lack of follow through to formalize memos and things of that nature in the files as to why actions were taken. And so that's something that we also working on with the eligibility staff. But when we do our, see the next audit, you'll start seeing a lot of improvement. And HUD did come and do a compliance review. I think we had 5 findings. One of them, no, all of them was for the Section 8 program. But they actually congratulated us because they saw that we have been taking action that we said when they did the other audits with all the corrective action plans that we have in place and things of that nature. So even though we did still get findings, it was some things that we need to work on. 1 or 2 things that was new. But overall, they considered it to be good and that we were moving in the right direction. Oh, and the last thing, I know that it's some people that's listening and they're like, oh, they got $17 million. Thank you, Kevin, for asking the question, because yes, we do not have $17 million. That money has different restrictions and regulations and different purposes, but we are financially healthy.
Great. You have a question?
No.
Thank you. Anybody, Commissioner Goodwin or Commissioner Maria?
No, thanks, I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. I will turn it over to John. And I just want to say, we do audit, as I mentioned, 80 housing authorities across the country. My staff was incredibly complimentary of the staff at Monterey, management staff. The attitude was incredibly positive and say, hey, if we did it, pretty much exactly what you were just hearing. If something was wrong, they wanted to fix it. Everything was an open book. When we asked for information, we received it timely. We got this audit done pretty quick. We got, we're caught up with our fiscal audits. And I think that is, indicative of the current staff you do have now. It seems like they do want to do the right thing and get the audits done and get on a correct path. So with that, I'll turn it over to my partner, John.
All right, thanks, Rich. I don't have a separate presentation or slide deck relating to HDC. I typically in these just want to point out if there's anything out of the ordinary, really just kind of change from year to year, if there's anything really of note. And, as far as this financial statement goes, it's consolidated of HDC and the tax credit partnerships. There is supplementary information in the back of the financial statements, which will break it down a little more of here's the HDC standalone, say, trial balance and the combined limited partnerships. And then there's eliminations for like transactions between the two. But as far as HDC goes, I do see there is an increase in the cash position there as well. And on the limited partnerships as well, the tax credit properties. I think something just to point out there is, just because it's unrestricted cash doesn't mean that it's all just there and ready for you to use. These tax credit partnerships, they have partnership agreements, regulatory agreements, loan agreements that will have rules relating to how you can distribute the cash that is unrestricted. They'll referring to them as like the cash waterfalls. Typically in these deals, it's when cash is available. Most of the tax credit properties, there might be some annual fees, but then mainly you're going to go first to paying off a developer fee. After that, if you have soft loans that are paid from residual receipts, it'll go there. And then at the very end, you'll pay out any excess to the limited partner and the general partner. So as far as the tax credit partnerships go, there is quite a bit of cash there. And there are a handful where maybe past payments weren't current for those cash waterfalls, but those are payments that are easily caught up. And so there's a few properties where there might be over in excess of $1 million of cash on the books that some may come back to the to HDC itself. Others will go towards soft debt, or if developer fee soft debt paid off, maybe a portion will go to the limited partner if they receive, say, if it's a 99% partner, maybe they receive 99% of the back end cash. So there are a handful of those. Other than that, it's really kind of standard operations year on year. I think if you'll notice on the limited partnerships, the debt did decrease primarily due to the one Parkside project that had a perm conversion where the construction loan was paid down. Other than that, there isn't a whole lot to note here related to the year-on-year change. And unlike the Housing Authority audit, this isn't a separate government compliance related audit, which would have the same concerns. And just something to note after working on these projects, and especially over the last few years, there's definitely been positive improvements as to the timeliness of the information that we receive. We're able to finalize our reports a lot earlier than maybe last year or the year before, even due to the quicker turnaround by finance with the complete audit packages and having trial balances that already have a lot of adjustments made to them. So I'd say kudos on that. Other than that, if there's any specific questions, and I'm happy to field them.
Do any of the commissioners have questions?
No, very thorough explanation.
No.
No. Kevin?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you both. Does anybody else have anything to say?
No, I just want to say, thank you to Rich and to John for coming and doing this presentation. Both of you did a fantastic job. I think it's very important that we're transparent in our finances and the board knows our position from year to year, because that's also indicative of how the agency is doing. And then I also like to thank the finance director, Jen, and her staff for everything that they've done to get these audits done, prepared, working with them. It's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And so thank you, and thank you to Novogradac for being such a good partner.
All right. Thank you very much,
very much.
everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the last of the presentation, number 4C, presentation of the 2 HUD Awards, Executive Director Zamika Boykin.
Okay, so unknown to us, the HUD San Francisco Field Office nominated us the Housing Authority at the Northern California Nevada NARO Chapter Conference for 2 awards. They normally only do it, well, let me read what Trevor wrote. He's the Office of Public Housing in San Francisco. Each year at the Northern California Nevada NARO Chapter Conference, the HUD team gives out awards to the PHAs for exceptional performance in various categories. You will be happy to hear that your PHA was given an award on January 28, 2025. Since you were not able to receive your award in person, the department has enclosed your award with this letter. And it's signed by Trevor. He's the acting director of the HUD office. So one is that the agency got an award for our family unification program. It's the voucher program that reunites families and helping them find housing. So we worked with Department of Social Services on this. And so we did receive an award for that. And this is one of the voucher programs that's normally always at 100%. So that was really nice. And the one I'm most proud of is that the agency got an award for our compliance review. When HUD came out and said they was going to start doing a compliance review, everybody was scared, all the EDs calling each other. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Because once they come, they really take a deep dive into the agency. Now, this is not to say that we didn't have any findings, because we did have some findings, but they determined due to the performance of the agency, the way that the staff helped them, and really, I think we had 4 findings, which is good for the whole agency. And it really showed the path that we've been taking. And so they nominated us and we achieved this award. And we could not have achieved it without the board letting us do all of that little crazy stuff we did the last 2 years. So really, I would like to give it to the board chair, and say thank you to the Board of Commissioners for allowing us to do the 1,000 voucher event, hiring extra staff and all of the other things that we've had to do to get the agency up and running, as well as the ability to increase our partnerships for the family unification. So it's an award for the agency, but we could not do it without our Board of Commissioners, so I think we should all show our support to them as they have supported us. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, for those of you that are not present, I did bring Danny's Donuts. It's located on Davis Road. It's a new donut place. And I heard that they had good, I think it was a 4.5 review. So I had some not too long ago, so I went and bought some. So the ones that are here present can enjoy. If you haven't got one already, I already went to my. So now, so we're gonna go ahead and move to number 5 on the agenda, the approval of minutes of the regular board meeting held on April 28, 2025. Have a motion or any questions before we have a motion?
No approval.
Second. Okay, and have an approval by Commissioner Anderson and seconded by Commissioner Roscoe. Roll call, please.
Vice Chair Kathleen Bellis-Starles.
I'm gonna abstain because I was not present in the meeting
Okay.
on April 28th.
Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Move approval?
Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Maria Orozco.
Yes.
And Commissioner Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you. So now we're gonna go to number 6, reports of committees, and we're gonna begin with the board reports ad hoc committee. Did you have a meeting?
We did.
Yes, we did.
We were reviewing the property management report. The new report is not reflected in today's packet, but we just talked about how staff are working to make the information more streamlined for them to prepare for us. So we'll still be receiving a lot of that background documentation that you see in there, but there's also going to be a new summary document that speaks to some of the goals that have been outlined for performance of property management, as well as comments relating to where we aren't hitting those goals, so that the board can kind of have that high level view and then be able to dig into the details if we want. I think that maybe in June, it might be July, because we'll probably have another draft that the committee reviews at our next meeting. But it was a very good meeting, I think. And appreciate the staff working to make these reports consumable for us, and pointing out what's really important to look at and to share with the public.
Commissioner Healy, do you want to add anything?
No, I wouldn't add anything to Commissioner Anderson's comments. I felt like the meeting was also very fruitful, and Mr. Gregory's making some great progress on the reports that we reviewed and took some great feedback. So no, I would not add any additional comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Roscoe? Okay. Okay, thank you for that. On the policy ad hoc committee, we did meet. And we are still currently reviewing and working on the employee policies. So we are not done yet, but we just want to let you know, make you aware. I don't know, Commissioner Goodwin, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I don't. I confirm what you presented.
Okay. Thank you. Alrighty, so now we will go to number 7 to the report of the secretary. And then the executive.
Make this pretty quick. I want to kind of just hit on the informational update with all the changes that we have in Washington. I actually attend a call every Thursday that NARO has, where they tell you what's going on for the week and what they're advocating against, what's good, things like that, just to try to keep up with everything. So one of the issues has been the EHV program. We have 4 million projected for 2025. We did have a small offset, and then we have another 6 million that's projected for 2026. So the EHV program was supposed to have funding for 10 years. But now they're saying that the funds will not last for 10 years. There are actually some agencies that will probably run out of money in 2025. We're projected to run out of money in 2026. They are looking at other ways to fund that program, but one thing that may happen is something that we should take action on, and I'll have a presentation for it later, as a board and as in an agency, is to absorb those vouchers into our regular tenant-based voucher program. I have a feeling that's probably what they're gonna suggest in Washington, and that's what a lot of agencies are doing. So that you'll get funding from them from your regular funding stream for your tenant-based vouchers instead of just having an EHB program. This is if they don't find additional funding for the program. We have 259 EHB participants. And so I'm just keeping a watch on it to see. And I know you heard me mention that we had an offset. They did an offset on everybody. So it wasn't anything specific for our program. It was just they changed the formula. And so that way they can get an offset from all of the agencies to try to create a pool of money to help the ones who want to have money in 25, have money for 25, so that everybody's projected to work well into 2026. So it's just something that we need to keep an eye on. But none of the clients are being displaced. They're not gonna be evicted, things like that. None of that is going on. It's really just still adjusting the finances behind the scenes. So whatever changes are proposed will come back with our new admin plan. Then the new administration just recently submitted their what they call skinny budget. Yeah, so it's the outline of what the president wants to do for the budget, but it has to be vetted and passed by Congress. So in the budget, there was $0 for Section 8, affordable housing. A lot of people say Section 8, but it really was all of the housing programs. And so the thing is, they're thinking about making it a grant process, so the states will get the money. And then you'll have to send in a request to the state, and if they approve your grant, they will send you the money. This actually happened before. When President Trump was in office, he submitted a budget similar to this. And it didn't go through. A lot of people don't think this one is gonna go through. But it's still good to just keep an eye on to see what they're gonna do. I personally hope it doesn't go through when they do the full budget. And I think that in the time that it takes HUD to make these changes, and you have to remember all of these contracts, all of the tenants have contracts with the landlords, the agencies have contracts with developers. So it's not as easy as just doing a budget revision and changing how the whole program works. That's not to say that this won't spark something that over the next 6 or 7 years, might actually happen. But it's very doubtful that it'll happen at this moment. But again, I'm keeping up with all of it, so if something happens, we'll know, but we're fine for now. Let's see. Oh, we're working for this June will be our first time getting paid using EVMS. HUD uses all our PIC information for that. That's for the Section 8 program. So we've been working on the PIC errors to get those done. And we have about 100, but some of them we're gonna have to get assistance from the HUD office because they're so old and they go with Social Security numbers for people who didn't previously have Social Security numbers. So it's a little harder to fix, but they said that they're gonna help us with that, so we should be okay on that. And let's see, we got a lot of projects going on. Some of them I almost was gonna talk about, but I told Keith, I was like, I'm gonna let you talk about it in your report, and I'll just make a comment if I need to, but it's good stuff, exciting stuff. And I just wanna say something about property management too. We get in these meetings and, I just noticed, I didn't think about it until we was having this one. We always talking about Section 8 in these meetings for better or worse, but we really don't talk about property management that much. It's actually because they're doing a good job in property management. It's improved a lot. They're making a lot of changes. Their audits are coming back clean, things like that. It is some stuff they still need to work on, but overall, they're doing well in the property management department. And so that's why we really don't focus on them in the meetings. But I just want to say to the maintenance, the property managers and the whole property management staff, thank you for everything that you've done to get the department to the place that it is. Keith, I will give you congratulations, but you ain't been here long enough. So. But he's working a little here, but let's see, other than that, for my report, Oh, I spoke at the Democratic Women's Monterey County on last Thursday. It went really well. It was at the Laguna Seca Golf Ranch in Monterey. I had no idea what that was, but it's hidden off in the back. It's really pretty. But, you know, the Housing Authority is not Democratic or Republican. We don't take a political stance, but we can go to different events and just talk. They were talking about housing. So it was a neutral speech, but it was very well received, and maybe we can also get some, you know, donations or things of that nature to come from it. And one thing that is supposed to happen, they asked for a call to action. And so since I'm a little crazy, I gave them something to do. I said, well, you know, why the whole county can't come together and have a meeting, like the city of Monterey, the city of Seaside area, because everybody really trying to go in the same direction, but they have all these different meetings and sometimes they conflict with each other. And so I was telling them, I said, I talk to all of you all day long, and it'd be nice if we could all just get together every once in a while. So they said that they actually had a coalition that used to do that. And they're gonna see if they can put it back together, and if they do, they'll start out having a monthly meeting, and then after that, go to quarterly, just to get those conversations started. So I don't know, I might just talk myself into a little more work, but we'll see what happens. And then on May the 30th, I was asked to speak at the Monterey Area Residential Property Managers meeting. It's at Bayonet and Black Horse at Seaside. So that'll be this Friday. It's a bunch of landlords, property managers, real estate agents, so I will have my armor on, but I'm very well prepared to represent us at the meeting and just talk about the Housing Authority, specifically the Section 8 program, rent reasonable and payment standards, things that'll make our life easier here and really make it easier for them and working with us to try to explain why we have to do some of the things that we have to do. And so with that, that ends my report, unless somebody have a question.
I realized what I heard you say was as it relates to potential cuts to housing at the federal level, we just kind of have to wait and see. But I don't know, in my mind, I'm just like, how do they imagine a grant program working? Is that block grants? You know, like, and I know you don't have all the answers, but these are, you know, when this gets put in the report and it's out, like.
Cause it's out, this is, everybody's worried about it.
Yeah,
We get a
this
lot of
is-
calls about this.
Pretty concerning. And then my other comment or thought is related to the EHB program. Again, I know you said, okay, we're talking 2026. We're on a current freeze, like, how does that play into, if at some point we have to absorb, are we able to absorb if we haven't gotten out of that correct, you know, like, so this might be other conversations,
No,
but I have worry about our ability to perform our function.
Okay, so with the budget, HUD started working on HOTMA in 2016. It was the 2016 HOTMA plan. They said it was gonna come out every year. We still waiting. Just to give you an idea, like how long it take them to change all these plans. This skinny budget has kind of scared everybody, but I think they forgot that he did this last time he was in office and Congress rejected that budget. There are a lot of, let's not talk about the low income people, because everybody always goes straight to the low income people. The Section 8 and housing funding that he's talking about, that's his money. That's private developers who going around getting, you know, $20-30 million from housing authorities to do these projects. They have lobbyists. And I just don't see them letting this happen. So there's a lot of positive push that's gonna happen to not let that budget go through. I think it's more to like, just kind of, some of the things have been the shock and awe factor to see like, can I do this? Or what's gonna happen? Cause even with some of the executive orders, they came out on Monday, they was rescinded on Wednesday, you know, but that's not to say we don't take it serious. So we already working on several plans to make sure that our programs are all right and our tenants are all right. And that's one reason why we're not giving out any new vouchers. And if they did do something, they still have to give you an implementation time. So if HUD was if they were finna cut the monies like that, oh, and they said the CDBG grant and the home grant, since I've written this,
Mhm.
they also said they was gonna get rid of them, so
Right.
those wouldn't even be in existence either. So they would have to give you time to get all that ready and addressed within your state on how that process would work because of the contractual law that goes along with the Section 8 program. That's not really what's saving it. Now, like I said, I listen to the updates every week, and when we get calls about stuff, I wanna make sure the board knows, so, cause people calling me, maybe they calling y'all too, asking questions. But we'll just make sure that we keep the public updated as much as we can, and like I tell them on the calls, we cannot guarantee anything, this is just what we think, and this is the status as of that day. But we'll hope for these changes will not occur, and then we'll put measures in place to keep our programs running if they do. Now, the EHV program, we're not giving out any new vouchers, but they're already part of our portfolio.
Mhm.
So it would just be changing the code on.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be really easy for us. We would just change the code on those particular vouchers so that they would be able to get funded through the tenant-based vouchers. They are already looking at our monies anyway, and we are expected to go into a shortfall. The shortfall application comes out on June the 2nd. Gabby, don't let me forget that, because we gotta be one of the first ones to turn the short form application in. So we're hopeful that we will turn that in and get the funding that we need to go through the rest of the year. But with our corrective action plans, and I have a meeting with HUD once a month about the Section 8 program, so far, we're in a good place. We cut our vouchers off right in time. And actually, because we gave out so many last year, we were almost at a cap anyway. We were gonna have to stop giving them out even before the mandate came. Cause we only have 5,100 allocated, and we had like 4,600 and something on the street. It's really hard to reach 100%. You'll never have enough money for 100% because everybody rent go up and stuff like that. So we was already at a place we was gonna have to stop. But we are monitoring it. We don't have a director in Section 8 right now. I am acting as the director of the program. And so far, I do think that that is a plus because it's allowing me to dig deep into some of the concerns of the program. But I do plan on handing it off once a few more items have been done to really strengthen the foundation.
Commissioner Goodwin or Commissioner Hilly, do you have any questions for the?
I do. Because of the financial restrictions that seem to be threatening us, for lack of a better term, does that hold you back or not permit you to hire a Section 8 worker?
We have funding in the budget for a Section 8 director and a supervisor. But I think it's best at this time that we restructure that budget for now.
Okay.
And plus, it's not so much the finances as it is to find this, Miss Francine, the compliance issues that we have in the department.
Yeah.
If we bring in a new person right now, they're gonna wanna change it to work however they used to working. The staff is already in a flux, but they actually been picking up and doing things very well and trying to get back on track. Cause even those corrections that I was telling you guys about in previous meetings, that's almost came to a standstill. So we need to let it get a little more solidified before somebody new comes in. So it's not really the finances, it's more of compliance, just making sure that we have everything in place, the staff really knows what's expected of them. Some checklists, a little structure so that a new person coming in can first come in and run it the way that we need it to while looking for areas that they could improve instead of coming in and it's not completely ready to be taken over.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hilly, do you have any questions or comments?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so number 8, information. So do you want us to, and if anybody has questions on any of that?
I think each one of them had like one little comment they wanted to say about that.
Okay.
And then, of course, any questions from the board.
Okay, so we'll go with 8A, Human Resource Report. James?
Good evening, everyone. I did want to mention 2 things on my report. One, Ellie, reaching 32 years of service. I did want to spotlight her on that one. Ellie has been here for quite some time. Community knows her, staff knows her, and she is kind of one of the true assets that we have here in the HCB department. So congratulations to Ellie for reaching that achievement. The second thing that I want to talk about was we recently participated in the board of directors meeting for the CHWACA, which is the California Housing Workers' Compensation Authority. And we did get a refund of $25,000. They found an error that was kind of in for 2024 true up, and that was discovered on their end. So they refund that money in April. So we received that. Those are the two kind of items I want to kind of point out. And then also just to follow up with what Ms. Boykin said about the director of HCB, because of the stability within the department, we just want to maintain that consistency across the board. And I think that we're looking at that for all departments, not just HCB.
So, and one comment, James keep bragging about the $25,000 check because he wanted to add it to his budget, but I already told him. Can you do that?
It's my only revenue again. Do little phrases.
So any of the commissioners have any questions or comments for James? Thank you. Report. Commissioner, yeah. Commissioner Goodwin or Commissioner Haley?
No, thank you.
No comment.
Okay, James, I do want to say congratulations to Ally. I do know her, not personally, but I have met her different times that I have come to the agency. And in fact, I think we seen her that day that we went to go look at the new section and well, the renovated section. So I do want to congratulate her. And I could tell the way she presents herself that she's a solid employee. So if you could please let her know. And I think the last thing that I want to mention, James, thank you for your union collaboration and labor relations transparency, because I think it's very important where you're trying to work, especially when we're working on these policies and you're trying to work with the union. And so you have the support of the Board of Commissioners when it comes trying to meet, because the employees here, even though they have a union, they still, I was sharing with Zalika, there's still the employees need to know that there's still policies that they need to follow that comes with their position and the duties that they do every day. And, we stand in support, and just to let you know, thank you, for being transparent and just trying to collaborate together. And especially too, you do it in a professional manner. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And so that's it that I have. We'll go to B, finance report.
Jen, you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I'm working on the next fiscal year, the budget for HICOM only. As we have a HICOM that's including all those the functional department, HR, accounting, that kind of, and also including 6 or I believe it's 6 property. All other LP property, that's for second year, that's the HDC budget. So right now I'm only working on July 2025 to June 26 HICOM budget. And this is the year end, close the year end, June 30, 2025. I can update one of the audit funding, that's the unclaimed property, is the cleanup. So you all see in the 25, the audit report, so that's, we get the stuff out. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have any questions for Jenny? Jen, okay.
It's not a question, but more of a comment. So we previously had a budget and finance committee, and I know we kind of went to this ad hoc committee and we're working on board reports. But I think we should start to think again about whether or not that is a committee that we should be convening on a regular basis. There's so much information that Jen submits as part of this board packet that we really don't have the opportunity to go through, and I think as fiduciaries, like we should be spending time on that. So it seems like you've worked really hard to get things into a place where we can probably have some meaningful discussion, whereas before it was probably a little more challenging to do, so. Just thinking about whether or not it's time to have that happen again.
Thank you for bringing that up. Commissioner Anderson.
Should I nominate Commissioner Healy to be back to that?
Second. Did you get that, Commissioner Healy?
It sounds like I just got an action item.
You didn't say no.
Commissioner Goodwin or Commissioner Healy, do you have any comments or questions for Jane?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if I'm saying your name wrong, but, or correct.
Jen.
Jen, okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so now the next one is C, property management report. Is that you, Mr. Gregory?
I'm here.
Okay,
Good afternoon or early evening, everyone. Just for the property management report, and I assume there's usually questions on this report, so I'll keep this very short. Two things that we've kind of consistently said, which is the King City Migrant Center is offline. That has now opened, so we had some staff to work really, really hard, and I appreciate those four individuals on the team who really pushed to make sure that lease-up was done, because the property doesn't have a property manager. So they really worked out, so just did some work to make sure they got done. So that's leased up and open and operating. The other thing is our Pacific Meadows property. That transition is slower than we had anticipated, but it is still moving forward. There was some, basically it's lawyers at this point. So our lawyers, human goods lawyers, and then the lawyers from HCD are all kind of working through all of the documents and approvals and everything. So that one, we would originally hope that it would happen May 31st. It's looking like it's gonna be another 30 days before we're ready for that. If anyone has any questions, but let me know you're gonna look, so. You say 60.
Not because of us, but because of Keith.
Under promise over to
Yes, ma'am.
There you go.
anybody else have any questions for Mr. Gregory?
No.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. We'll go now to development report, letter D under H.
Also me. So for the development report, we are continuing to kind of work through some of our projects. As you notice, the financing and funding, so we are going to be doing looking to our credit facility, not credit facility, I apologize, our credit rating. So we've reached out to S&P to kind of get that process rolling. So you'll be hearing a lot more about that as we go forward. We kind of already talked about Pacific Meadows, but that kind of falls on both sides. So property management can't step in as the property managers until we are the owners. The ownership transition, as we talked about, will be in 60 days, ideally. As far as our projects are concerned, we kind of talked about some of the projects. I think the biggest update is that our King City project has reached a point of closing. So we are now in a place where we are signing all the documents and taking over ownership of that property. We're already putting together our RFP packet so that we can start getting the work done on that site. We are hoping at Ms. Boykin's direction to have a groundbreaking ceremony. I would assume that all of you would like to be invited. So we'd like to see all of you there, of course, and we're we're getting the shovels cleaned up, we're getting all situated. So we will be doing that. We're very excited about that project. It was recently in the news. I think there were a couple of news articles about it. So I think the community is excited to see this project move forward. And I think it also makes a very positive statement about what it means to partner with the housing authority. These were projects that these cities were literally being sued for because they weren't being done. We were brought in, as I understand it, to correct those. So now I can't really take credit for that. I think Ms. Boykin and the team, the development team prior really stepped in and really stepped up to get those in a place where they could be closed.
Steve, Keith has been wonderful assisting with all these projects, making sure that we get them to the end, and really holding the development team together in our partnerships that we created. So thank you.
Any questions?
Good report.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna go to AE Housing Programs Report.
The Section 8 program, we're doing a lot better. The annuals are pretty much caught up. We should get those points on CMAP for that. We still won't get the ones for the inspections, but we should get the ones for the annual recertifications. At the next board meeting, we may have an RFP that I have to get approved by the board. I'm not sure how much the amount ended up being for an external inspector. Either way, it'll be in the report, even if it doesn't require approval. So that'll help us start doing the annuals and things of that nature to get those caught up. Money wise, we're on track. We have had some expenses that we had to pay out of admin, but we put in a request to get those paid back. This is aside from the adjustment slips that we had to do for us, the late research. But overall, the program's going in a good direction. Right now, the main thing that we need to focus on is compliance and putting some internal processes in place to make sure that all of the files that have been touched correctly, and that everything that should be there is there, and just confirming what's happened. So Rent Cafe is helping out with that a lot. Plus, I've also been doing a lot of trainings with the staff, making sheets for them to put in the files, things like that, just to keep them on track. Because one of the things that I did notice about the Section 8 staff, and this is not criticism of the staff in that matter, is more so maybe to previous management, I'm not sure what happened. But there are some fundamental things that they should know about the Section 8 program that they are unaware of, which has led to some of the findings that we have. So we've been doing a lot of training on that. James has also been getting external companies to assist with that training, but a lot of it is on the job training, because it really goes down to what they do on a daily basis. But the staff is working really hard, and so I anticipate that we'll be improving a lot. We still won't give out any vouchers this year. If we do start giving some back out, it'll be sometime next year. But again, we was already close to our cap. So even without the mandate, we may not be able to give out any, especially with the PBB projects that we had on the horizon. But you'll be made aware as those take place with development. So I think overall, and coming from, I don't know what it was, 3,300 to like 4,700 was a great achievement. And it's actually a perfect time, because in and later they would have told us we couldn't give any more, we would have still been at 3,000 or something. So the community really, we're really blessed to have that opportunity, and we want to make sure that all of the people that do have vouchers are able to sustain the housing that they have. So right now, it's moving in a positive direction, but it's more so like at a standstill.
Does anybody have any questions or comments to that?
No.
Okay, so properties by program is just information that's included with that, okay. And then our property spotlight is
Yes,
the card, and that's just information also.
yes, ma'am. Oh, and I forgot to tell the board, we are anticipating that the Section 8 staff will move back to their department on June the 2nd. We will have food. We will have a little in-house event, and if the board members are able to attend, we would love for you to come, because you were instrumental in us being able to redo that department. And that'll be the first day that they will go back and work at the new the redeveloped space. Gabby gonna confirm it, and we'll send somebody to let you know, but it's looking like June the 2nd will be the time that we do it.
Alrighty. Okay, so I guess we'll go to 9. Any commissioners have any comments?
I don't know if the county has notified you, but the board did take action to approve the tenant commissioner.
They did, they've been working with Gavin on that, but that person is not at the point for them to come to the meeting yet, because it's one more step we gotta do.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to, again, congratulate Ellie for her many years of service to the Housing Authority. And, it's been very challenging for me. I'm currently still working with, this homeless family that has been in the process of trying to find housing. And this is probably one of the worst cases that I've ever really had to be involved with and working with, being that I've done housing and I know about housing and I know about the housing programs, and yet I just feel so helpless because they are still homeless. Mom, dad, and 8 children, ages 16 to 10 months old, sleeping in their car, going to the park. I do have to say though that, I've mentioned it to some of our, residents and they've come out to support the family and provide them with hot meals in the evening, but it is a challenge to not be able to help with family, knowing that, you know, we have a lot of resources, but yet we're still limited, so hopefully they'll find something soon.
Commissioner Healy or Commissioner Goodwin?
I don't have any comments this evening, but thank you.
No comments. Thank you.
I just have a 2-minute comment to say before we close. In my visit to Panama, it was a couple of weeks ago, I was sharing with Zalika, and I got to see an area in Panama, and I'm not familiar with their government. I don't know anything if they have housing in that country, but I got to view this very poor area over there. And the buildings that they live in, they have no windows, they're blackened out because those buildings was due to a war that they had in previous years, I don't know how long ago. And so to see that and to see that our country does its best to provide housing for, you know, people that do need assistance. I came back so humble because here you see all these people, I don't even know if they have running water. I did learn that some people in certain parts of Panama, they don't have a bathroom in their home. They have an outhouse. And I felt so humble returning because I have a bathroom, I have a running water. And it just hit me. So I was sharing with Zalika, every client in our nation that is able to qualify for housing, how fortunate they are. And sometimes we have to see, you know, I got to witness this passing by and seeing, and you know, how fortunate that our nation is able to help out those that they can. And I do feel bad for the family that Commissioner Orozco's trying to assist. And I came back telling Zalika, I have nothing to complain about, nothing. And I hope that our clients can really see that they are very fortunate. Because after what I witnessed in that country, it made me really sad. And I actually got in a conversation with my friends that were with me because we seen all that and how housing is very important. It's an essential for a family to survive. So thank you for your time, and we will close the meeting at 6:25, I believe. Okay. Thank you.
Now.
Thank you.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, now they got.
All right, thank you.
Just in case you can't come on the second, your little sneak peek is not 100%.